So what I did at Carnegie Mellon was speech recognition. What I do today is helping startups in mobile computing. So there really isn't much overlap in what I do. But it turns out, as I thought about it, there's a huge amount of overlap between what I learned at Carnegie Mellon and how I'm doing what I'm doing today. So for those of you who don't know, I left Google about a little over 2 years ago. And when I realized that my largest legacy at Google China was probably going to be the people I helped develop and those who left and started companies and are amazingly successful. Because it was a very interesting confluence of times where in China, the talent is so amazing, so hardworking, and so hungry for success. And the Chinese market is so fast growing, and the economy as well. And the opportunities are just so many, and the cost of doing a startup is lower than ever in history. And the value of the startups, whether it's in revenue, users, or market cap, is higher than ever in history. So when all of these things are aligned, it's like a perfect storm that the people I had the good fortune to have mentored and helped at Google China, when they were given a nice platform and learned about the latest technologies, products, trends, and combined that with the mentorship that I and my team provided them, became among China's best entrepreneurs. So I thought, gosh, it would be a lot more fun to do this full time, to help find the greatest potential entrepreneurs in China and help them understand the trends that are going on, select the hottest sub-areas that will go through the most explosive growth, help them build the teams that they need, and give them the first round or 2 or 3 of capital, and help them become the next Baidu, Tencent, or what have you from China. So that's what I set out to do September 2009. And in the last 2 years and 2 months, we are very proud that we have funded over 40 companies, and only less than 10% have failed, and more than 15% have received funding of about $10 million or more. And the collective valuation of these 43 companies is now nearly $500 million. So it's definitely realizing the dream that when you have great people, great ideas, great innovation, and a very quickly growing market, it really is a lot of fun and an amazing experience, and it will be very successful and profitable for these young people that we find. That every day when I go to work, I can see the sparkle in their eye, and that they see every day their dream is one step closer to being realized. And that, and helping these people innovate and create great products, is probably the most fun I've ever had in my career. And this is really amazing. So if you know people who want to start companies, come and tell me. But really what I'm here to talk about is what it was from the Carnegie Mellon days that was extremely helpful, most helpful to me at InnovationWorks. And I'll just tell you a few stories of when I entered Carnegie Mellon, basically the 3 most important things that I learned in Carnegie Mellon and how they were very helpful to my career and in particular to InnovationWorks. I remember in 1983, since President Cohen has already spoiled my age to all of you, that was 1983 was when I showed up on campus. And the first professor I met was the late Professor Nico Haberman, who was at the time the chair of the computer science department. And as I asked him what the expectations were of me, like any nice Chinese student, he asks the professor, what is your expectation of me? And Nico said to me, and I remember to this date, that I expect you to be the best in the world in the area of your Ph.D. thesis. And that was really shocking to me, that a 21-year-old can dream that in 4 or 5 years' time to be the best in the world in anything. But he explained to me that that's the expectation of Carnegie Mellon, and also it's not the best in computer science, but in the specific area in which I worked. But at the same time, he told me that what I would take away from Carnegie Mellon, the most valuable gift, was not that PhD thesis, but the process in building that thesis, that the journey would be more important than the destination, that the journey would teach me how to think, how to solve problems, how to work with people, how to work independently, and that would be the largest gift. And today, almost 30 years later, I find that those were truly words of wisdom, and they have really significantly changed me. So those words at InnovationWorks were also words that I apply to my work all the time, that I realized that in a large domain of possible investments that we could make, there are a few pockets that are really, really, really important. For example, building an Android ecosystem in mobile. And the approach we took was basically what Nico taught me, to go find every smart person and inspire them to build that best product within the Android ecosystem. So we would use our technical expertise to pick the small domain, find great people and what they would work on within that small domain, and everybody can be the best in some small domain. And we want to encourage, inspire, and help, and mentor, and coach these people to pick that small domain and be the very best. And that's how Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and great companies were made. And that was my first lesson that is tremendously helpful to me at InnovationWorks. The second biggest lesson I learned basically happened the second day at Carnegie Mellon after talking to Nico. I went to class, and then the professor said, well, for the next month, there are actually no classes. You're about to enter the marriage process. And what marriage process was at School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon was that the students would get to sit there and listen to the 100 of the best professors in computer science pitch to them why they should pick them as their professor and supervisor. And this was unheard of, especially to a Chinese student. That is not the teacher who picks the student, but the other way around. And that month in itself, if for no other thing, really gave confidence to that class of 30 people that we were respected, that we were empowered, that we were in control of our destiny, that we got to pick what we were passionate about. And that was something very, very special. And that month was probably the most fun I've had before finding InnovationWorks. And during that month, I absorbed everything the teachers had to say, and eventually I was fortunate enough to pick Raj Reddy as my PhD supervisor. And of course, perhaps everybody wanted to pick a great professor. It can't just be a one-way process. So the professor would have to say, well, you know, one person picked me, fine, I'll take him. But if 6 people picked me, maybe I have to pick only 2 of the 6 to sort of make it fair. So basically, people were only guaranteed of getting maybe your top 3 professors, but not your top 1. But I was lucky to get my top 1, and I really treasure that opportunity to do what I'm passionate about and feeling empowered. And that gave me the confidence and energy to be the best that I could be in the following 4.5 years, after which I got my PhD. So how did I use that marriage process at InnovationWorks? We actually, at InnovationWorks, go to the top 13 universities in China and recruit every year. And since we are an incubator, an investment company, we don't hire engineers, but our portfolio companies do. These 40 companies do. So what we do is I would go to the 13 schools. The process is I would give a speech about InnovationWorks and what we funded, and then I would get everybody excited and and then have them take a written exam. So that part I didn't learn from Carnegie Mellon. That might not go so well for recruiting. But when you have 2,000 applicants per university, you had to do something for the screening. So we gave a written exam, 2,000 people would take it, and the top 100 who scored, got two rounds of face-to-face interviews, and we would pick, on the average, another 25 from that 100. And at that point, we got the 25 people in the room, and then we did the marriage process. Except this is China, so everything is fast, so it was instant dating. So we just had our portfolio companies that were still hiring go upstage one at a time to these 25 students, and said, at the end of which said, well, you get to pick the top 3, and we guarantee you will get into one of the 3. And that's almost the Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science marriage process replicated bit for bit in our campus recruiting. Of course, when everybody picks a company, they can't take everybody. So the same thing about the top 3 applied. And that, I can tell, was tremendous, because for the students to take a chance on a random company was just too much. But to be able to listen to 10 or 8 different companies present, and to be able to pick and get one of the top 3, that was liberating and empowering. It made them feel valued, trusted, and they got to pick what they were passionate about. Because the core essence of this is when people work on what they're passionate about, their power is amplified 3 or 5 times. When you work on something you hate, your passion is probably, your output is probably reduced by 50% or more. So that's how we, using what I learned at Carnegie Mellon, help people find what they're passionate about at InnovationWorks today. So that's the second thing I took. And the third and the last thing had to do with my advisor, Raj Reddy. I remember I studied for 1 year under Raj, and he was a wonderful teacher. He showed me how he wanted me, he suggested me some ideas on how to do my PhD thesis. He told me to do speech recognition and to try to use expert systems, which at the time was the hottest technology. After 1 year, I realized that was really a dead end, that speech recognition was wonderful, but expert systems was not going to scale. So I went back to him and I said, Raj, I really think I'd love to work on speech recognition. I love studying under you, but can you let me use statistical methods to collect data, train discriminant models, and do pattern recognition using hidden Markov models instead of using the expert systems. So he asked me a bunch of questions, at the end of which he said, Kai-Fu, I don't agree with you, but I support you. And that really threw me off my chair, because from a Chinese education, it seemed, if you don't agree with me, you shouldn't support me. If you agreed with me, you should support me. But then he explained that he believed that everybody's equal in the pursuit of science, and that everybody's entitled to his or her opinion, and that if he or she got to work on what he or she is very passionate about, and then they're much more likely to become successful. And that he would rather support me to do something he didn't think would work than to force me to do it his way, which also may not work, and also I didn't believe in. And he wasn't just using words to make it sound good, but instead he bought me the fastest machines. He helped me secure from DARPA the largest database, and he introduced me to experts who could teach me about statistics, because that wasn't his particular area. And with all that, I was able to create the first speaker-independent continuous speech recognition system, and was able to get my PhD successfully from Carnegie Mellon. And from that whole lesson, what I learned was that it's not just when you support people to do what they love to do, whether or not you believed in it, it was not just that you are magnanimous, you're generous, but that is a very much valued style of leadership. That I realized smart people, and everyone at CMU was smart, and everyone at InnovationWorks is smart. Smart people want to be trusted, empowered, to do things that they love to do and to do it their way. So that the best thing that a boss could ever do is to trust and empower and coach and support and help their employees become successful. That I learned from Raj that the most important thing about management is to provide an environment that you yourself would like to work in, to be the kind of boss that you yourself would like to work for, and that you yourself, being a smart person, want that someone to trust you, support you, give you resources, and let you do what you love. And that, I think, is really the essence, the entire essence of Innovation Works. And that Innovation Works, we find these entrepreneurs, show them what the industry trends are, what the opportunities are, and then we would help them find their own product idea and passion. And then we would help them set up their company, pay their taxes and payroll. We have a team that would help them design their product with support on how to do best UI design. We have a human resources team that will help with campus recruiting all the way to headhunter for CXO types of positions. But at the end of the day, all that we do was really just doing what Raj taught me, that if you want the smart people to be the best that they can be, let them work on what they're passionate about and give them your unwavering 100% support. So those were the three most important things I learned from Carnegie Mellon, that we should be the best that we can be. Anybody can be the best in a particular domain, that people should work on what they're truly passionate about, and that the ability to choose is unbelievable and unbelievably empowering. And lastly, the best way to manage people is to provide an environment where they can get the full support of what they want to do, and that you manage people the way that you want to be managed. Thank you.